Greetings to all fellow South Africans and the international community at large, and welcome back to another episode of the B-BBEE Commission podcast series. Today, we're talking to the young entrepreneurs, the trailblazers, the ones who are starting businesses from the ground up. We're talking to startups, as well as future investors and other members of important communities in our country, and really to engage on how the BEE Act, or the B-BBEE Act rather, addresses startups in their legislation. And to help me unpack that step by step, I'm joined by Peter Koabe from the Compliance Division in the B-BBEE Commission. Peter, welcome.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction.
Thank you so much for joining me today. And as I said in my intro, today we're talking about the startups that aren't at the millions of rands of revenue, but are also critical stakeholders in the B-BBEE Act. So how does the Act itself address the treatment of startups, especially within the context of the codes of good practice? And maybe you can start off by explaining the codes of good practice and then get into how that affects the treatment of startups.
My name is Peter Koabe. I'm from the B Commission within the Compliance Division. So startup enterprises are defined in terms of the BEE Act as newly formed or incorporated enterprises that have been in operation for at least 1 year or less than a year. Yes. So it's a departure from what we normally know as newly formed enterprises, whereby they will claim it's been started up for more than 2 to 3 years. So that is where the disjuncture or the difference between your normal startups in the normal operations of business and with BEE. So your startup in terms of BEE is those ones that have been in existence before and newly form another company altogether, just as a continuation of the previous enterprise. So that is the difference between the two. So it's to stop entities from forming the same company over and over again. So that is the main aim of such definition. Of course, they can. That's true.
Absolutely. And what are the certain proofs that people have to bring to maybe the Commission to prove that they are indeed still at small enterprise level?
So your startup enterprises, in terms of the legislation, are regarded as exempted micro-enterprise for the first year that they're in operation. So they are also deposed to a SON affidavit, which can be found on the DTIC's website, the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition's website. So there's a template that they need to fill in, a SON affidavit that they need to complete and take to a commission of oath for them to stamp and sign for them. That is the form that they used to use. So that will be their B certificate for the year that they are regarded as startup enterprises. Yeah.
And after that verification, what type of opportunities are startups able to access, whether it's economic opportunities or business development opportunities from those types of exemptions and other pieces of that legislation?
So since they are regarded as EMEs, or your exempted micro enterprise, they receive the same benefits as your normal exempted micro enterprises. So we have an element in the BEE codes referred to enterprise and supplier development element. So that particular element is there to increase support towards black-owned entities. So you have 3 sub-elements within the said element. So you have your enterprise development element, your supplier development element, as well as preferential procurement. So meaning your large enterprises are to support such small enterprises, your startups and EMEs that are black-owned and female black-owned.
And how have these codes of good practices and treatments for small enterprises actually benefited small businesses? Have small businesses approached you and shared their experiences with you, and what have those experiences been like?
I'm not gonna lie, some of them do complain in terms of the treatment that they receive from your large enterprises, whereby you'll find that this large enterprise when it's closer to the verification process, that's when they want to then procure services from there or actually support them because they are going through a verification process. So they only need them when they need BE points. And the point, the actual purpose of this particular element is actually to grow your enterprise development beneficiaries to become your actual supplier beneficiary. So they must end up graduating. So this tick box exercise that they do at the end of the year where they need to go under verification, that is frowned upon when it comes to the BEE. Yeah.
And I guess looking at the small enterprises themselves, how can they start to build up some capacity to grow in terms of their compliance? Because as they grow from maybe exempted to qualifying, there's different things that they have to comply with. How can they build their internal capacity to be able to do that as well?
So in terms of the legislation, as I've said that in the BEE codes, we have your enterprise and supply development. So in there, we have bonus points that a large enterprise can have, where if 1 or 2 more jobs are created as a result of a ESD initiative, that's when they can get points. So it encourages enterprises to develop small enterprises so they can be better capacitated and have more employ other people that are without jobs. So that is where the BEE legislation try to assist enterprises from growing by adding this little bonus points there and there, so that it can motivate your large enterprises to actually implement initiatives that will make an impactful thing at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I think to also bring clarity on some of the terminology as well, for someone who's watching, what would you explain an automatic level for startup as EMEs? Yeah, what would you explain that as?
So as I've mentioned before, that you regard them as your exempted micro enterprise. So all exempted micro enterprises are regarded as a level 4 automatically, without dipping down into whether they are black owned or whatnot. So an exempted micro enterprise will have a revenue of between 0 to 10 million. So, but if there's 51% black ownership in the company, then the entity will get an automatic level 2. And if it's 100% black owned, it will receive an automatic level 1. Same with startups, because they are regarded as exempted micro enterprise for the first year of operation. Yes.
And are there any success stories that you can share with us of small enterprises that have benefited from some of these requirements that they're either exempted from or are able to uptake?
Not necessarily. Through the BEE certificates, we can see that entities are scoring the bonus points that I've spoken about in terms of creating 1 or more jobs. There are also bonus points where the enterprise graduates to become a supplier. So those are the benefits that we see through analyzing the BEE certificates that we receive. Other than that, we don't have a data or a what's this thing?
Like a tracker?
Yes, a tracker of some sort. We don't have that. But through us analyzing the certificates that we receive, through your compliance reports, your major transactions, we can see that entities are scoring those bonus points. So we do believe that there are initiatives that are being done in terms of creating 1 or more jobs, as well as the enterprise graduating from becoming the supplier of that measured entity.
Yeah, and I think at a local development level, how do all of these pieces of legislation work well with maybe municipalities that also procure goods from local businesses, and how is that process of tracking, the rules and regulations that are out there to actual economic opportunities for businesses at a local level?
So municipalities are organs of state, so they ought to, in terms of Section 10 of the BEE Act, to implement BEE legislation. So they do this when they are actually developing a criteria for your licenses, your grants and incentives and so forth.
And finally, what piece of advice would you give to any upcoming entrepreneur, young entrepreneur at least? We're also going into Youth Month in a couple of days. So what piece of advice would you give them to know more about the BEE legislation and how it's actually on their side, and how they can work together with larger corporates to start getting business and contracts and pieces of work?
Yeah, I'll just say put yourself out there. However, be wary of the intentions of the people that you're exposing yourself into. That's where the B Commission comes into. So before signing any agreement, you need to come to the B Commission for advice. It's free of charge. However, it's non-binding because it's based on the facts that you provide us with. But we are to assist you in any way possible. You can drop us a query, you can phone us, you can meet with us face to face, you can walk into our offices. We are there to help you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Peter, for your time. And of course, the contact details of the Commission will be available attached to this video. We really appreciate you tuning in. If you are a young person who is starting a business, know that there is legislation out there to support your business, give you more opportunities to grow your business and integrate yourself into the South African economy. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.